All right, we are on 11.3. Now we're going to do the opposite of what we were doing yesterday. Instead of squaring something, we're going to find the square root of it because we're dealing with equations that have exponents. So one thing that we need to discuss is that when we have the square root of something, for instance, the square root of 4, it's 2, which is what we've learned, we've always learned, and it's always been that way. But what if, it's possible, because that means 2 times 2, oops, messed up here. This also means the square root of 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So then my answer would be 2. Makes sense. But we also need to consider, if I have the square root of 4, I could also say that negative 2 times negative 2 would also mean that my answer is 2, because negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. So what I want you to know and to realize that even though we said you can't have a negative square root, which we technically don't, but it could be that negative 2 times negative 2 could be our answer as well. So when we write our answers for like the square root of 4, you need to start writing that it's possible that it could be positive 2 as well as negative 2. So we write it like this, plus or minus 2 as our answer. So let's work on some examples. And for right now, we're not simplifying, we're not using decimals or anything like that. We're going to work on x squared, this is number 1, x squared is equal to 144. Well, just like we learned to get rid of the radical sign, you would square something. To get rid of the square, you would square root. So the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 144 is 12. So x is equal to 12. Number 3, x squared equals negative 49. Well, to find what x is, we would need to find the square root. Well, you can't have the square root with the negative number, so this one would be no real solution. Let's do number 5. X squared plus 29 is equal to 93. Well, first, I need to get rid of this plus 29, so I'm going to subtract 29 from both sides. When I do that, I get x squared is equal to 64. Now I'm down to my x here, so I'm going to find the square root of both sides. And x is equal to 8. Let's do number 7. Number 7 is x squared minus 19 is equal to 81. Well, I need to add 19 to both sides, and I get x squared equals 100. Now, we find the square root, and x is equal to 10. Let's move on to number 9. Actually, on number 7, it should have been plus or minus 10. I forgot to even do that. So let's start there, that I remembered to do that now. So number 9 is x squared equals the square root of 66. Well, it equals 66. Well, I know that 66 is not a perfect square, so I still have to find the square root of it. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 66. This is your answer. No fraction, just this. Number 13. Number 13 is 3x squared equals 33. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So x squared equals 11. Now I'm going to find the square root. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 11. let's look at 15. X squared plus 9 equals 22. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. This eliminates or cancels out, so I get x squared is equal to 13. Now I need to find the square root. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 13. Number 17. 3x squared minus 10 is equal to 29. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. 3x squared is equal to 39. Divide both sides by 3. So x squared is equal to 13. I'm going to find the square root on both sides, and I get x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 13. You're going to continue. There's going to be more examples like this. I want to go into a little bit harder ones. Let's look at 27. Number 27 is 4x squared minus 19 is equal to negative 7. I'm going to add 19 to both sides. I get 4x squared equals 12. Divide both sides by 4. X squared equals 3. Then I need to find the square root and do that on both sides. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3. Let's do 29. Oops. $29 is x squared divided by 4 plus 1 equals 10. I'm going to subtract 1 from each side. This cancels out. So I rewrite and I have x squared divided by 4 equals 9. This is divide by 4, so we're going to multiply both sides by 4. This cancels. We're left with x squared equals 36. Now I'm going to find the square root. So x would equal plus or minus the square root of 36 is 6. Okay, 31 and 33 are a little bit different because on these we get two different numbers. And I'll show you. Number 31 is x plus 4 squared equals 16. Well, this whole thing, this whole quantity is being squared. So I have to find the square root of that. And this is the only time that we'll have like two answers, and is when this whole thing, this whole quantity is being squared. So I get x plus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 16. Well, now I have to subtract 4. But what this means is, I'm not 16, 4, sorry. I'm going to have to add 4 to the positive 4, and I'm going to have to subtract 4 from the positive 4, and I'm going to subtract 4 from the negative 8. So when you get it like this, when it's a whole thing like that, not just the x, it's got another step that we need to do. It means x plus 4 equals 4, the positive 4, and x plus 4 equals negative 4. So you will have two answers on these. So I would subtract 4 from both sides. So x is equal to 0. And then I'm going to subtract 4 over here. So x is equal to -8. So both of these are a solution for that problem. You would have 2 answers. Okay, let's do 33. 6x minus 7 squared equals 4. Well, now I have to find the square root. That eliminates this squared sign, so I get 6x minus 7 equals plus or minus 2. So this means 6x minus 7 equals 2, and 6x minus 7 equals -2. I'm going to add 7 to both sides, so 6x equals 9. Divide by 6, so x is equal to, that eliminates 9/6, which reduces to 3 over 2. Now we'll do this side. We're going to add 7. So 6x equals -2 plus 7 is 5. Divide by 6. So x is equal to 5/6. So my solution would be 3 over 2 and 5/6. So make sure when you do the problems 32 and 34 that you come up with 2 answers. That's all for today's work. Have a great day.